Thursday, June 9th, 2015. I'm Rim.
I am the Sky.
And this is the Geeknights. Tonight we're talking about The Time Crisis 5.
Let's do this.
You best watch yourselves because I have a new toy. I have a teleprompter.
Okay.
And I'm going to make use of it.
All right, you do that.
I remember way back when I made that Five Nights at Freddy's, like, why this game is scary, like, video essay. It was a real pain in the ass to make that thing because it's not like a lecture where Scott and I just talk, to an audience and then the video is just of that event. This is more like there's a bunch of things I need to say and then I need to interleave that together with a whole bunch of video of, like, gameplay and things. So I needed, like, all these art assets together and then I could make the thing, which meant I had to write a script or else I'd have to have a video thing set up and wear the same shirt or have the same shirt and lighting and everything available like every day for weeks. So I had to write this stupid script and set this giant thing up and then sit there for like an hour saying all my things. If I'd had a teleprompter, that would have been a lot faster.
All right.
I am not good at memorizing paragraphs of text and then saying them into a camera.
So just ad-lib it. What do you need to read the exact text for?
I didn't even really read the exact text so much, but I had to make sure I said all the things. And the more I had to go back and look at, what points do I have to make? And did I say them all? Because if I miss a point and I stop doing the video, I'm fucked. And I got to go back and do this video over again.
Just say all the things one at a time and edit the video.
No, it took me weeks to edit that video. I'm not going to leave the video shit set up to video myself for weeks. Ideally, you have all the video done.
The other part is all the parts in the video. See, what you do is you say each thing one at a time, right? And obviously, if you just cut those things together right back to back, it's going to look funny when you obviously cut.
Oh, no, I did that. Believe me, every time I cut.
You voiceover, you voiceover, you voiceover, you voiceover.
Yep. Every time I cut.
That's the secret.
But I did need video of my face.
Now that you know that trick and you watch people's videos on YouTube, you won't be able to unsee that trick.
Yep. However, the funniest thing is I've seen some cut points on our panels where I change camera angle or something, but we just look like we did a cut because you move your head really funny suddenly when really we didn't. So
you're supposed to edit those parts out to make them voiceover so it doesn't look like that.
Yeah. But no, the teleprompter will be useful generally for more complicated projects that we want to do. So stay tuned for more complicated projects.
It's good for when you've written something for someone else to say and they just read it. Their only job is to appear on screen.
It's also good when
you want them to say your thing. Like, hey, I'm hiring you to be in this commercial for me, pretty person. You're beautiful on the camera. Read this.
It's also good for if we were doing, we have to do a Patreon video. So if we're making a video that is just us saying our very specific thing with a very specific time limit, and we want it to be all one take.
It's also good for mass production of video, make a thank you video for these 100 people. Oh my God. Just cue up the teleprompter, stand there, and read.
Now, what I don't have yet, but I could do it now because I have the physical teleprompter, is the dynamic thing where I could have someone else feeding me stuff from off screen. So I'm going to play around. I'm going to use this thing to the maximum
extent. It'd be best
extent.
if you could see comments on there.
Yeah, what I want to do is have, ideally I might make an app because now all I have to do is display, stuff in an app. It'll just work. So I could display the comments from a Twitch stream while I'm videoing my face while I'm playing the game. Much easier than putting it overlaid on the game.
You can use the Twitch app to do that.
Yeah, no, because the Twitch app isn't reversed.
It has, but it has chat only mode.
Yes, but it's not reversed.
Well,
I
can read in reverse, so not a problem.
I defy you to read non-reverse text.
Let me just turn my iPad upside down. Oh wait, it corrected itself.
So another actual stuff I've been doing game-wise, I bought a Wacom tablet. And I've been playing a lot of Civ 5.
You're using the Civ 5, your Wacom tablet for Civ 5?
Yeah, that works real nice.
Does it really?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Way nice. At least way better than the Lenovo touchpad.
Oh, yes. That is good. Good God. Good God.
So if any of you are interested in a big Civ 5 game, I've done all the research and I've almost done testing all the shit. And I'm trying to start a for real semi-long form pit boss Civ 5 game.
It's all you.
We'll see how that goes. I think it'll be fun. So you got any video game news?
So this is big news, at least it seemed big based on the clamor I saw on the internet, that people were so excited that Capcom announced Megaman Legacy Collection. So what's happening is basically this new company that sort of is marketing themselves as we want to be the Criterion Collection for video games. We're going to re-release all the old video games, remastered HD perfect edition with all sorts of added features. Like they're including, a museum with all the old artwork in high res and
Noble goal.
This isn't a bad thing at all.
No.
Right? But I'm like, okay, first of all, they're making it HD, but it doesn't they're not redrawing it. They're just directly scaling it to HD. It's like, well, my emulator does that.
Yeah. The only thing
they're acting like, oh, it's a big re-release. It's like, dudes, I already have Mega Man Collection and Mega Man X Collection for the GameCube, and it has Mega Man's 1 through 8, not Mega Man's 1 through 6.
Also, the other thing is, the only thing that would make this worthwhile, for real, would be if it was guaranteed to be NES accurate, because the problem with emulators is that they're not 100% accurate. Like, the game's a little different.
Don't need it to be so that...
No, but I'm
the
saying,
differences are so small that if you care about that difference, you can go fuck yourself.
It depends on the game, at least from a museum standpoint. Like, if you're looking at preservation...
But, we have plenty of Mega Man cartridges. There is no shortage of any Mega Man game on its original format.
Yeah, but without that, I already have all these games on emulator.
Right. But it's weird that people are so excited about this. It's like, you don't know about emulators. These games are even in Virtual Console, you can get them. It's like, why was this made into the big deal, news-wise, marketing-wise, when really it's like...
so you say that...
Every Mega Man person fucking has already beaten these games 100 times.
Almost no one I know who knows about things said anything about this. All I saw was other people's retweets of the press release stuff.
This
and that was
filled
it.
my feeds for half a day.
What kind of feed do you have? that I don't
Apparently
have?
Mega Man related.
Yeah. You've got the internet figured out that Mega Man's your jam.
I guess maybe.
Here, leaderboards, challenges, replays. If that's global and works well, that's actually pretty good.
It's nice, but it's like,
Well,
is
the
it
thing
really enough to spend $15 on games that you already have beaten
It depends.
and played and can already play anytime you want?
Someone made a point on Twitter today that people like us, pretty much every genre of video games came into existence while we were alive and gaming from nothing.
Well, before, at the original video games, when video games started, there were no genres. Every game was its own genre. What genre is Dig Dug? What genre is...
A digger, because Dig Dug too.
What genre is Mule?
Mule is a resource allocation and bidding game. I would classify Mule the same way I classify board game.
It's like, what genre is
Pac-Man?
Hubert?
Hubert? Not actually a good game.
I'm not saying it's... I'm just saying, what genre is it? The games didn't have...
Tile puzzler.
I'm just saying, games didn't
puzzler.
necessarily have genres.
Real-time tile puzzler.
Yeah. Games didn't have genres. It was later on that genres came into existence, like NES days.
But I'm saying,
and
if
forward.
you are young now, never played on the NES, like a kid who's growing up right now, not talking yet, when they're a little older, this is probably the best way for them to play all those old Mega Mans. The question will be, will they ever want to?
Well, I just watched, there's those YouTube channels that are like, old people react, babies react.
Oh, kids react to NES games I can summarize every one of them. This game's bullshit and hard. Fuck it.
Well, they just did Teens React Contra, and they had them co-op.
Oh, I watched that.
And it's like, on one hand, I always feel bad. Like, man, young kids are so much better at video games than me with their reflexes and their whatnots. It's like, wow, they are garbage at Contra. Now, to be fair, it was bullshit that they didn't give them the instruction manual first.
I looked at that instruction manual.
They spent a good amount of time, how do I drop down? How do I do this? It's like, you're supposed to read the fucking manual.
It's Contra. If you sit there when the game starts and mash the buttons, you literally figure out the entire game.
They did eventually figure things out. But, for example, they didn't know that you could shoot the mechanical turrets. They just tried to dodge them. They didn't know the water is safe. They didn't know the water ended at one point. They didn't know, they didn't know all these things that you could figure out if you have... Some of them you could figure out if you have the instruction manual.
But you can also figure them out by playing a little... I've noticed that, you know what? That might be the same reason why even a lot of young people and just general people also suck at computers and everything else.
They don't read manuals?
No, fuck that. Just they don't even try to do anything. Like they don't attempt things. They don't say, I wonder what that is. Like when I was a kid and I got a new game and there was a pit, I would jump in it just to see what happened. Like I would just try stuff. I didn't need the Mega Man.
Some of the kids tried stuff and some of them didn't. But they were all so garbage at Contra. It's like, man, I can't beat Contra without Konami code or whatever.
Oh, here's the question,
but I can
Scott.
get way farther than those kids. None of them got past level 1.
Without Konami code, are you confident right now that if we both played Contra, you would get past level 1?
Yeah, 100% confidence.
Would you bet money on it?
I would bet it's a moderate amount of money.
You want to do a live challenge of we each play Contra, one chance, no Konami code. Whoever gets further wins with a pot.
Further? No. I'm not betting on
not further
than someone else. No.
No, just me.
I'm betting that I can beat level 1.
You're afraid that you're not as good as me.
I can only do something that is guaranteed, which is that I can beat level 1 and possibly even level 2.
I'm dubious that you would beat 1. There's no way you'd beat level 2 right now. When was the last time you played Contra?
The up-scrolling one?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I know how to do that.
When was the last time you beat Contra?
A while ago.
Okay.
Years?
Okay. But anyway, it's got leaderboards, which is cool, but at the same time, I don't know enough people who will care about the leaderboards enough.
$15 for games you already have.
$15 for games, it's not a lot of money.
Anyway.
It's got a database of enemy lists and stuff, so I guess
because I don't know that already.
It replaces the existing Wikia.
The Mega Man Wiki is now crying.
And they've got a museum of a whole bunch of pictures of things.
I guess I can throw out my Mega Man 25th anniversary edition.
I mean, there's a place for this. I don't take quite the dim view Scott takes on it, but at the same time, I didn't see a big press blitz like you did, so
whatever.
Like, I did not run afoul of this. This is something that I knew was coming, and I thought, oh, that's cool. I didn't think about it anymore.
I mean, it's not bad. It's just I thought there was a disproportionate response for what it was.
Nah.
I saw all this Mega Man hype, and I was like, oh, Mega Man hype, what's this? And I'm like, oh.
You know what, though?
Look
how balkanized the internet is. You and I are actually even in different ghettos of the internet. Apparently, you live in Mega Man Town, and I live in, like,
Bionic
next
Commando
door
Town?
to Mega Man Town.
Bionic Commando Town.
Yeah, if there's Bionic Commando news, I'm all the fuck over that.
It's okay.
Even though Bionic Commando Rearm 2 is kind of garbagey.
What is your news?
So, there is an article here that I don't think you even need to read, but the IGDA did a big satisfaction study and everything, and what they discovered is that developers in the video game industry, 50% of them earn less than $50K.
Whoa.
Like, you think that video games is like
what games are they developing that they're making so little money? If you have like you're a developer specifically, you know how to program and write code.
You can make $80K in New York in finance overnight.
Are the people that we're talking about here?
Yeah.
We're not talking about like
we're talking about
artists
developers
or testers.
Developers.
So somebody who knows how to code is working on a video game and only making $50K. If you know how to code, it doesn't matter what kind of code you know how. If you can actually code, you can make way more than $50K in any major city in the country.
So anyway, there's a whole bunch of links here that are really fascinating, but the biggest takeaway seems to be that developers are leaving the industry at a higher rate.
So they don't need the advice that we just gave them. They already figured it out.
The churn rate in video games, which we all assumed was high, is way higher than we even assumed.
How much did you assume? Because I assumed a lot.
Well, at the same time, I know people who are highly stressed and way underpaid who continue to work in the video game industry.
I do know such people.
Yes. But the biggest takeaway is that the thing that is driving people out isn't even the money. It's the stress and the long hours and all the corporate bullshit.
Stop doing that bullshit.
So, yeah, my continued dream of make a video game company that makes cool games, and if you make more money than you expect, instead of doing profits, just use that to make your lives better, and don't try to be like a AAA.
If you're going to work at
profitable-
video games, only work for Valve, because you know what? Valve just releases games and they're done. They don't push to get them out at a certain time or any bullshit
I
like
do know
that.
for a fact that some of the people who work for Blizzard, at least, are really happy and have good jobs.
I mean, I'm sure there's someone at every company, no matter, you think of the most evil company you can think of, the worst, someone at Time Warner fucking loves their job. Someone at,
Well, yeah, you know what? In Nazi Germany, the SS, they fucking love their jobs.
Most
the
of them,
regular
some of
German
them.
army, not so much.
I'm just saying.
So I randomly yesterday I was reading this paper it was like this weird World War II thing about how the German army recognized pretty early, at least the Third Reich did. They recognized pretty early on that the average soldier, if they encountered the death camp stuff, could not deal with it. and started going insane and suicides, like crazy stuff. So they found that the SS people were way more into it. And it's just an interesting study about how they tried to mitigate the damage that being literally the worst humans in history did to the people who were actually doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm glad how this discussion about stress in the video game industry went straight to Nazis, but
Godwin.
this developer satisfaction survey is amazing. And seriously, if you work in video games and you work in video games because you're passionate about games and your job is stressful bullshit of working 80 hours a week for a company that doesn't care,
Quit.
either quit or find people who are like you who are good and just form your own fucking game studio. I guarantee you'll do way better.
Make a union. They can't stop you. Laws.
Yeah, except because of the high churn rate, they can. They'll just fire you.
Good. You mean the other option was quit, so at least try to make a union first.
Yeah.
Worst case, you get fired, which is even better than quitting because then you get unemployment.
But seriously, the only truly happy video game people I know are people who work for cool people, not just want to make money people. And full stop. That's pretty much it. Like everyone else is the exception, the unicorn.
Anyway.
Things of the day. So this is a fascinating article. Apparently satyrs or satyrs, depending on where you live.
You mean a man with goat legs?
Man with goat legs. I guess, I don't know what cultures have a female equivalent.
I've never seen one.
The Witcher has that.
Maybe Fantasia? But
Witcher.
That's more like...
Those are satyrs,
yeah?
kind of, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, The Witcher, too. There's that... the one goat girl.
I don't know anything about Witcher.
Really?
I just know it's a Polish video game.
There is anyway, there is you know the Mr. Machant's wife, the sexy Lamia.
Yeah.
There is an equivalent satyr woman witch person in a Witcher game.
When did you play Witcher?
I just know about video games.
You just know about Witcher?
Yeah.
How witchy are you?
Yeah, it was Dave and Joel. That's how I know this.
There you go.
My brain was stretching
That's a game
back.
they would play that you wouldn't play.
I was stretching back in my brain like, wait, are you dreaming? How do you know this? Is this real?
Do you have Witcher?
How did you get here? But apparently satyrs or satyrs won't eat soup. And this is a theme in woodcuts, in carvings, in
From
paintings.
ancient times?
1600s. So all these old images of satyrs, you'll see him sitting at a table and a peasant's eating soup like, check this shit out. And the satyr's like, oh, fuck no.
Yeah,
Or-
satyr's too good for soup.
Yeah. Or like the peasant like reveals some soup and the satyr just like faints.
If someone's an artist, a good enough artist to make art like that, you should draw a satyr in Japan being like, fuck no ramen.
Yeah.
Or
So, like-
but could be on also like he's like, hell no, and they're eating pho.
It's interesting seeing like this painting from 1730, and then there's another painting from like 1680 and 1615, and they all show the satyr leaving by the fact that the stool he's sitting on is being knocked over.
And why are the satyrs always so buff?
I guess that they historically are buff. They're supposed to be like super hot.
I
or
guess
whatever.
that's from not eating soup. Maybe I'll stop eating soup.
Yeah.
But
So-
wait, chicken soup, too good.
So this article
Ramen too good.
explains why satyrs are so fucked up by
How
soup.
did this person research this? What library had this information?
Here, I'll read it. So, satyrs, or hybrid beings who are part human and part goat, are famed for their love of wine and body behavior.
Yep.
Marcantonio Riamondi's Bacchanal in 1510, derived from ancient sarcophagus bas relief and displaying a lot of drunken followers of Dionysus, is characteristic of the type of activity associated with satyrs. However, as a number of printed examples reveal, a bowl of soup placed before a satyr elicits some surprisingly sober conduct. So I'm not going to spoil it. Fucking go read this article. It's pretty great, and the answer is actually pretty simple and pretty funny.
All right, so this guy on YouTube, he's got a YouTube account with over 140,000 subscribers. His name is Styro Pyro.
That's a good name already.
His latest video has almost 3.5 million views. It is my homemade 40-watt laser shotgun.
Wait, 40?
40 watts, like a light bulb, 40 watts.
I've witnessed a 5-watt laser before, and that shit
Imagine-
was not cool.
Imagine all the photons coming out of a 40-watt light bulb, which is bright enough that when you look at it, it hurts. But instead of being spread all over the goddamn room, they're all aimed at one spot, like bam.
So I actually have seen this video. The best part about it is that when he turns it on, his camera goes, "Oh fuck no," and really has a hard time recovering from how bright it is.
Right, and he shoots a bunch of balloons and sets stuff on fire and whatever, and
He does exactly what you
But
should do.
basically, the way it works is he's got a whole bunch of lasers and he shoots them all at a lens that focuses them at one point. This guy has also in the past made a 6-watt laser sword and many other projects that will get a lot of YouTube views.
I look forward to seeing the video where this kid talks about why he lost his eye.
Yeah, he's pretty much the, I don't know, he's not that much of a kid. He seems younger than us, though. But, yeah, this guy's the expert at making dangerous things that get a lot of views on YouTube, so give him your views.
So, in the meta moment, the book club book is Scott's choice, and I disavow the selection. It is
The Eye of Zawaldo
also known as the first book of The Wheel of Time.
by Robert Jordan.
Known so because it goes on and on and on and on until I start foaming at the mouth and falling over.
So I started reading book 1. I'm about 100-ish pages in, and it's a fantasy novel.
I'm going to London next week, and I plan to read most of it on the plane.
It's a fantasy novel. If you're a nerd and you like fantasy novels, this is one of them.
So, gut read, better or worse than the Rothfussian offerings? You've only read the first Rothfuss.
I mean,
King Killer.
Quality-wise, I guess ignoring the content, right? It's like
Yeah.
the content is more Gennaro, whereas the Rothfussian is more modernish, despite having its issues of being, Superman and whatnot.
Yep.
But, this is more of a classic plot, but I guess it's more well done in writing-wise.
Just curious what I'm getting into here. I'm still... Everyone I talk to, it's like equal
Perhaps
parts.
Robert Jordan was a better writer than Rothfuss, but he wrote about something that is more... the content is more typical and not surprising. It's just a fantasy adventure.
The
that you would
responses I'm getting
expect.
are now ranging from, "Oh man, those books aren't that good," to, "Nah, you got to read like the 7th book. The early ones aren't that good."
Mixed response all over.
Yep.
And
so-
also the response of, "Man, I don't like fantasy novels." Like, why are you listening to Geeknights?
Yeah.
Are you a nerd or what?
Yeah.
Cyberpunk only, maybe? I mean,
it's real hard to not just
there's
make
really
the book
only
club.
2 kinds of books that nerds read: the sci-fis and the fantasy. They put them in the same section of the bookstore just for you. Reading only half of those seems kind of weird.
You're real lucky we don't just make the book club every Prince of Nothing chapter.
And the thing is, they're usually, fantasy and sci-fi are also in the same section because they're usually the same thing. You just replace dragon with like computer virus and replace sword with laser sword. And it's the same thing.
So otherwise, we have no convention appearances until
Except ConnectiCon, which is
ConnectiCon.
actually surprisingly soon.
ConnectiCon's in about a month in July in Hartford, Connecticut at the Connecticut Convention Center. It is not worth flying to, but it is definitely
if you
worth
can get
driving
to it
to.
with a car, and you're a nerd, which you are if you're listening to this, you should go to it. Also, June 20th is the Philadelphia Netrunner Regional Championship. I'm going to live stream from there if their internet doesn't suck.
I may or may not tag along.
You should come to make my life easier.
Yeah, I could, but at the same time, I could do something else.
You would be in this game store all day until the late night in Philadelphia.
Unless it's a Burning Con, pretty much any other like game store event, after about 4 hours, I want to be outside.
You can stand outside the store.
Yeah.
You can walk around Philadelphia. You can play Netrunner.
Oh.
You can entertain the people with all the who are going to be many viewers, probably hundreds.
So, we were in Wildwood, New Jersey last weekend. We've talked about it at length on the show many times in the past, but one thing that happened over the years is we pretty much started going at the peak of arcades.
Mm-hmm.
And then every year...
It was only the peak DDR. It wasn't the peak of arcades. The peak of arcades was Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 2 era.
Okay, yeah.
In the
yeah.
United States, at least.
The peak of arcades at the shore.
Peak of arcades DDR-wise.
Yeah, but also
the
like
shore had its NBA.
Police 911, Hokuto no
I'm just
Ken.
saying there was a time at the shore where they had Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat 2, and NBA Jam.
Nah, but that was a different time, you understand.
And just at the peak of arcades at the shore with DDR was when we went.
So, over the years, it declined and declined and declined until one year, last year, there was literally not a single arcade machine worth touching.
Yep.
on the entire boardwalk.
Unless you really want to play a rigged crane.
But now, like, there's a retro pinball museum that you can play, like, awesome old mechanical pinball machines.
Yeah, there's a handful of good arcade machines on that boardwalk.
They're with one exception, they're all in one arcade.
Yep.
So while we were walking around looking for something to do, we bumped into Time Crisis 5, which just came out.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, I didn't even know this just came out, because, I mean, how would you even know?
Well, because when was the last Time Crisis game?
Right. It was actually in 2006.
Yeah, so I looked to
Time
make sure.
Crisis 4 was in 2006.
On July 4th, 2006.
In other words, when there were less than 1 year of Geeknights episodes recorded.
We did a show called Arcade Games, Dance Dance Revolution, House of the Dead 4, Time Crisis 4.
This is Time Crisis 5. It came out 9 years after Time Crisis 4. There have been 9 years without an arcade Time Crisis game.
Oh, wow. Our things of the day back then were a guy lighting 45,000 bottle rockets at the same time.
I remember that one.
And the dog wielding a Roman candle.
I remember that one.
And something about WG. It doesn't matter. The page is gone.
Yeah, anyway.
Okay.
So Time Crisis is a really interesting game, right? Because, I mean, gun games are some of the oldest arcade games. Even in, like, pre-video game, a lot of arcade machines were shooting galleries.
It was like a big wooden, like, bolt-action rifle on a stick shooting mechanical targets.
Yeah, and they used various very clever methods of figuring out if your aim was accurate or not. And those methods worked or did not work to various degrees. But, you know, the gun games have always been a staple of the arcade, because even though you had the zapper at home with your NES, it only worked so well, and a mechanism to make it work better was not something you could have in your house.
Well, I mean, Lethal Enforcers worked pretty well on the SNES.
Yeah, what did you use, a Super Scope?
No, it came with guns.
Oh, it came with guns?
It came with plastic guns.
That's all right.
Like big revolver-looking things.
Yeah. But, I mean, especially when CRTs died and we had the LCD screens, it was even harder to make gun games that, you know, for home. And, you know, buying guns that every game used a different method. And the arcades just kept getting fancier at a rate. So even today, right, the arcade gun game is still vastly superior to anything you can have at your home, unless you buy an arcade machine. And really, it started with sort of Lethal Enforcers, but it moved on to, you know, Area 51 sort of reignited that, and Time Crisis really just sort of blew them all out of the water and became sort of the king of the arcade gun game, and nothing has really tried to stand up to it since, other than more Time Crisis.
Here, there was actually, that gun was a standard gun. It was the Konami Justifier.
Whoa.
And it worked with Lethal Enforcers, Lethal Enforcers 2. Oh, on other systems, it worked with a bunch of shit. But on the SNES in 92, it literally only ever worked with Lethal Enforcers.
There you go. Anyway, so Time Crisis, the big revolution, the reason Time Crisis was such a big deal is because Time Crisis introduced the pedal, right? Not only were you shooting at the screen, you're also stepping on this thing.
Yep.
And when you stepped on it, and you would basically pop up and be able to shoot guys. And when you let go, your guy would hide and also instantly reload the gun. So it combined the reloading with the hiding, which makes sense because you hide and reload. You don't want to reload with your head sticking out. But also the hiding...
Why? That was just fine in Operation Wolf.
Sure. But it also, you know, the aspect of hiding also added this sort of extra element to the game of the dodging. You could see bullets or rockets coming at you and dodge them by ducking and then pop out and shoot the bad guy. Right? And all these games were just rail shooters, right? You don't control your movement. You basically just had to kill all the guys on a screen, don't die, get to the next screen. Before that, all the gun games would be more like a duck hunt or...
Well, like Lethal Enforcers, there was the guys pop out and you shoot them, and then there was like Operation Wolf, like the machine gun a bunch of shit.
Yeah, well, that was Terminator 2 arcade, right? Machine gun a bunch of shit, but that wasn't actually a gun. It was actually a joystick that looked like a gun. All right, so you felt like you were aiming at the screen, but really they just mapped the position of the joystick to positions on the screen. The gun was attached to the top of the thing. You couldn't pick up the gun and aim anywhere you wanted.
Now, nicely, that didn't really matter in terms of playing.
Right. Also, the Time Crisis guns added a few other things. The force feedback.
Which is gone now.
Well, it's still force feedback, but they removed the actual physical, you know, clicking of the...
That was when I first picked up a Time Crisis gun, and that big bolt at the top would move. That was the shit.
It was kind of awesome. It's not there now in Time Crisis 5, at least the machine we played, but that really set Time Crisis apart. It got you to put quarters in just to play with that because it was, fun to play with that even if you sucked. Also, the shooting in Time Crisis, the way it worked, I don't know. I still don't actually know specifically what method they're using to make the gun work. The gun is ridiculously accurate, or at least it feels ridiculously accurate. Like, you never have a situation where you shoot and the bullet goes off somewhere else or doesn't hit the screen or whatever. Like, you can have that happen even in games like Area 51 and whatnot. That'll happen sometimes.
Yep. So Time Crisis 5, in terms of plot, I fuck if I know. I've never cared. I skip every cutscene. As far as I know, Time Crisis is, there's a couple of pretty guys, and you shoot things.
And the enemies are there's always an insane boss who has a huge army consisting of ridiculous mechanical deadly contraptions and lots of really boring foot soldiers and henchmen. And they're chasing you through a dangerous world of industrial shit. And that crazy boss guy just keeps taunting you until eventually you murder him and have an even crazier boss in the next level.
Yep. So Time Crisis 5, the shit it's got going on is that Daddy 2 pedals.
So it's like, what could they possibly do for Time Crisis 5 that they didn't already do in games like Crisis Zone with the submachine gun?
Yeah.
Or Time Crisis 4. They already added co-op in Time Crisis 2. They advanced so quickly, they got ahead of themselves. It took them 9 years to come up with a way to advance this game. And all they could do is 2 pedals. And it's like 2 pedals, that really isn't that big a leap, but it's actually kind of awesome.
Yeah, because basically when you put your foot on a pedal, you stand up in that spot. If you let go, you're ducking. Put your foot up on the other pedal, you run around and come up on the other side of some bitches.
Right, so basically, for any screen that you're on, there's 2 places you can stand, and you can safely move between the 2 positions.
And as a result, it can be dangerous, because if Scott moves to one spot and I move to another spot, like off to the side, we could shoot each other. I can see him over there.
Well, that happens in Time Crisis 2 also.
But now it's active, depending upon me.
Now there's like decisions that you make, like if you coordinate with the other person, you can perhaps avoid any risk of that by always positioning yourselves in a certain way.
Yep.
But it actually kind of makes the game easier because when you appear and start shooting, all the bad guys will turn towards you and start shooting at you, as they do. Right? They're not dumb. You switch to the other position, they're still aiming where they were originally.
Usually, occasionally, when we got to the later
stage.
stage.
There's one smart guy, right?
Yeah, I come around, and there's a guy like in the back with a worse gun covering his friends. I can be like, oh, shit, and duck immediately.
Right, but when you pop up in the other position, you pretty much, all the bad guys are still going to be facing, you're going to shoot them from their side and flank them.
Yeah.
So you just keep switching back and forth, and you're pretty much almost always flanking all the bad guys and hitting them without being hit very much at all. It really makes it kind of easy in a way, but it encourages you to keep switching between the 2 pedals pretty much constantly. But there's sometimes you don't want to switch.
Of course, we only got to the first main boss. We don't know how easy it remains.
I wasn't going to put that many quarters in there, but they do a lot of other interesting stuff with the pedals. Like that first main boss is a rotating flame turret thing, right? So not only do you want to rotate to get to the right side of it based on its position, but you need to use that rotation to sort of duck under the flame thing. And if you do it wrong, that flame can just hit you in the head if you pop up, say, on the right pedal when it's coming at you. You got to be able to see it coming at you, duck on the right, move to the left to get under it, and then pop out again where it's safe. So they incorporated a lot of, the bosses and other elements in the environment really integrate well with the 2-pedal system.
And it just felt like the slickest Time Crisis to date. Like, it was just fun, good. Like, it's a perfect example of a great arcade gun game.
Another thing that makes Time Crisis really stand out from other arcade gun games, especially, say, House of the Dead, is the big screen. You never see Time Crisis with a tiny screen. Even Time Crisis 1 had the big screen.
Yeah, and the screens on this one are huge.
And you're sort of far away from that screen. So it actually, there is a lot of aiming and shooting going on. With House of the Dead, it's like a little screen usually. And you're like next to it and up close and going like,
Yep, even
right?
Police 911 is a tiny little screen.
It's like with gun games is one case where it's like, yeah, a bigger TV actually matters a whole crap ton. Because then there's more area to shoot at. That makes aiming like sort of matter. It's a tiny screen. It's like you're just moving the gun like a little tiny bit, and it's like, whatever, right? When you're moving the gun, like shoot a guy in the way left, shoot a guy in the way right. That's like more the physical action starts to get into it, and it's that's what makes a gun game good.
Yeah. So the co-op and playing together was really fun, and we actually died like basically within a few seconds of each other. Like I died finally, and then the boss comes in, and Scott died. That was it.
Yep.
But it has a pretty good competitive co-op thing in that there's some screens and some events where you both have a task. Like this one boss guy jumps on a pulley and starts like escaping, and you get all these targets to shoot. And I shot the targets faster, so at the end it gave me a huge point bonus. And it was like, yeah, you beat your friend.
Yeah, I mean, Time Crisis 2 is the first one with co-op, but really it was just, hey, let's make the game easier because now there's two people shooting the bad guys. Even though if you didn't have a co-op friend, there was an AI that shot the bad guys poorly. Really, all that did is sort of let you beat the game with your friend, and you could compare scores, but no one gave a shit about score.
Yep.
You just cared about seeing the end of the game and then never playing it again. In this, the actual, it says on the screen, win, lose. It actually tells you the word win and the word lose. And somehow that makes you care and makes you want to do better than your friend.
I cared a lot. I started taking a lot of risks to kill more guys than Scott faster.
Yep.
It paid off. I won every screen.
I didn't really care. I just wanted to try to beat the game still,
Yeah.
even though the fact is the first time it said win, lose, I was like, what? I didn't know that was going to happen.
So the interesting thing that's kind of sad is that it prevents one mode of gameplay that I used to do occasionally on older Time Crises. Holding both guns and playing both sides.
Yeah, I mean...
You cannot do it. The pedals are physically too far apart.
Time Crisis 2, right? Time Crisis 1, there was only one gun and one screen. Time Crisis 2, you could do it because they were kind of close enough to each other that you could step on both pedals and sort of shoot the left screen, shoot the right screen, shoot the left screen, shoot the right screen, right? I don't know if Crisis Zone, I don't remember that being two-player with the submachine gun, but there were some other arcade games that had submachine guns that weren't Time Crisis where you could hold both submachine guns, one per hand, right?
Yep.
But yeah, in Time Crisis 5, the screens are so big and the guns with the two pedals are so far apart, you can't possibly play both sides at once. You know, no matter how much you can split your legs, you can't hit the left pedal on the left one and the right pedal on the right one at the same time and still shoot and still hold both guns.
Maybe if you were a satyr.
Maybe if you have 4 people, 2 people can control pedals and 2 people can have guns, or one person can have both guns and then 2 people on the pedals, or I don't know. Maybe you could just, rig some sort of, if you have it in your house, you can just connect extra pedals that are right near you and you can have all four pedals right in front of you with 2 guns and 1 screen. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, you couldn't have 1 screen because the 2 screens are going to be different.
Yep. Well, honestly, in the modern era, I don't see gun games really coming back on consoles or in houses.
No one's going to shell out, with an LCD TV, it's very hard to get the system to work. You're going to need extra stuff. People already got tired of buying plastic guitars and DDR pads. No one's buying guns for how few gun games there are. Who's paying for this, right? Nobody.
Yep. So I don't think this is even going to make an arcade resurgence. I'm surprised and
it's probably
shocked.
a big deal in Japan.
Yeah, I am shocked that there is the Time Crisis 5 machine on the East Coast
of the United States?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let alone in Wildwood, New Jersey, randomly surrounded by a literal sea of shit.
And cranes.
I mean, the arcade it's in is nothing but garbage and cranes.
Dude, the Yahtzee machine was so bad.
Oh my God.
I thought I was going to play actual Yahtzee. It's nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Other than Time Crisis 5, the only good games in the arcades anywhere were all those pinball games in the one place.
Old pinball.
The old DDR Supernova machine.
There wasn't even a good air hockey. There was bad air hockey.
Yeah, all the good air hockeys are gone. That last photon table is gone.
Now they just had the one that goes ding on the side, which is garbage.
Yeah, I watched some people playing it.
Might as well not even play air hockey.
Yep, just give up.
But yeah, Time Crisis, is this game with this long history that somehow just by being in, Time Crisis 1 and 2 especially, just by being in every arcade, any nerd that went to an arcade between the years of 2000, I don't know, well, I guess Time Crisis 1 came
96,
out 96, right? So, and,
92 was Lethal Enforcers.
I think Area 51 was not. So anyone who went to an arcade in the 90s up through the 2000s, and he was a nerd in that era, you can't not know Time Crisis. It's I don't know if there's anyone who's a Time Crisis fan. I've never met such a person, but it's just a staple. There's NBA Jam as a staple.
Yeah. When I thought arcade, I thought there's the fighting games, there's the Time Crisis machine, there's the DDR machine.
Cruisin' USA, Cruisin' World, that's a staple.
Yep.
There's certain games like that.
Ridge Racer was always hanging out somewhere.
Yep. Marvel vs. Capcom was a staple, but that sort of brought it home, right?
Yeah, a
lot of those fighting games were able to,
Racer.
Yeah, a lot of those games were able to bring it home, but the ones that weren't, it's like they sort of disappeared and never came back. But here we go, Time Crisis 5 coming back for whatever reason.
So I guess what I'll say is when I go back to Wildwood later in the summer, I might, because it's only 50 cents to continue, I think I just want to beat it.
Yeah, if I have enough quarters, maybe I can find my laundry quarters that I don't need anymore because I now have a card for laundry.
Let's just bring a bag of quarters and be like that guy who was doing this, preventing us from playing earlier.
Yeah, we'll just find a day with bad weather, and if there's a bad weather day, just go up to the Time Crisis machine and beat it because it never takes that long to beat Time Crisis.
No.
The thing is, they fuck you because like the final boss will just keep killing you because it is an arcade machine.
And you're not going to give up at the final boss. You're not just like, well, that's my last quarter.
It's just like X-Men arcade machine. Magneto kills you so many times. He just cheats like bullshit, and then eventually, but you put enough money to beat him, and then that's the end.
Yep.
But it's worth it to see some ending that you'll pretty much. I don't know if you can see this ending on YouTube. You probably don't want to say you can't because you can see anything on YouTube.
Except we kept skipping there was like something about a briefcase.
Well, and there's always something about a briefcase. That's how Time Crisis is.
And there's that Robert Baxter guy who appeared and was yelling the whole time.
Yep.
Oh, I guess he's in older Time Crises. So.
Yep.
Wow, the plots of Time Crisis is really
don't research those on the internet. That's not good for
your
health.
Really dumb.
That's really bad for your health. Really bad.
3 months prior to the events of the game, a VSSC auditor was murdered.
The one thing that really bothers me, though, is that it's called Time Crisis. People don't know this, because in Time Crisis 1, you're actually traveling in time. Isn't the first level like a medieval castle that you're in or some shit?
I don't even remember. I was never,
I'm pretty sure in Time Crisis 1, the first level is like a medieval castle, and like you're dudes with guns going through history to stop these bad guys or something. And in the other time, starting in Time Crisis 2, there's no more time travel.
I don't know if there's any time travel.
I remember a medieval castle.
I think it's called Time Crisis because there's a countdown timer that you are fighting
against. Then why are you in a
medieval
medieval castle in Time Crisis 1?
All right, let's see.
The
main plot of Time Crisis involves an attempted coup in the fictional Republic of Circia. For a millennium, the Garo family ruled Circia with an iron fist. In 1995, the VSSC, the International Intelligence Agency, sent William McPherson, who successfully toppled the Garo regime and became the first democratically elected president, the last remaining member of the Garo. God damn, there is no mention of time travel.
Okay.
I don't think there's time travel. I think you're just making that up.
The first level, though, is definitely a medieval castle, so I must have falsely interpreted that when I was young in the 90s playing that I was a guy with a gun in a medieval castle. I think that's
just the Garo family's ancestral home.
Yeah, it was a present time castle. I falsely interpreted what was going on.
I don't think there's any time travel.
Because, as a wise man said, don't pay attention to the plot of Time Crisis.
Yeah. I think we're done here. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
Yes! Okay, are you ready to dance? Loosen up and get ready to groove!